Welcome back to that Rugby Podcast, hosted by the Rugby Booth. Your boy Luke and Hughesy back again for another week. I am in Greece, so we're doing a bit of mobile movement, seeing how it's all going to go. But look, Hughesy, the British and Irish Lions to start off with have said a statement after the loss to Argentina. They have come back and said we're in Australia and here we are.
I watched the game. It was really entertaining, especially the first half. The Western Force came out of the gates, and I think they punched the Lions in the mouth, to be honest. Like, physically, the teams seemed matched. Skill-wise, though, British and Irish Lions clearly 2 steps above the Force, right? Like, the Force had some moments, but they just couldn't execute on them. The Lions didn't seem like they could put a foot wrong, even through that period where they had a yellow card. Henry Pollock, man, what a player. What a player. Man, that kid is scary. That kid is scary. You think about, his other games that he's got coming up. But let's talk about the Australian players for a second, and particularly, there's a couple I want to highlight. The first one, and I think everyone will agree, this was on the Western Force side, the player of the match, Dylan Peach. Man, what a way to say to Joe Schmidt, I'm ready for a Wallabies jersey. Good under the high ball, great catches, physical play, which is obviously very, very important. Made some great breaks, but didn't have quite the support behind him, I think, to finish some of them. Really, really well done by Peach. Not much more you could have asked him to do, especially in a Super Rugby club versus British and Irish Lions. Then I want to call out as well Tom Robertson, playing out of position, playing loose head instead of tight head. Still had a great game, still brought that physicality, still brought a little bit of that shifty speed you wouldn't expect out of the big man. Definitely put himself on Joe Schmidt's radar as well. Look, just like the Force, obviously there was a big loss and they're not going to be happy about it, but they didn't lose the physical matchup. They were just simply outclassed.
Yeah, and it was 50 good minutes, as I think Nick White said. It was the quote, like, we gave them hell for 50 minutes, and they did. It's just that level of quality that, again, is that step up between a Super Rugby side and an international side, is that final 30 minutes sometimes where you've pushed them all the way, but to get a W against a team like that, you've got to go the full 80. But yeah, I think, as Farrell said as well after the game, he said he was quite happy with the learning on the fly from the Lions, and you saw that in action. Like, again, this is exactly what you want from these games. It was, 47,000 people in attendance, the highest ever for a Force game, which is awesome for rugby out west of Australia. But then also just to see the Lions, again, go one step. Last week against Argentina, they struggled to turn that thinking on the fly into a win. This time they got pushed hard, but were able to finish off the job. So again, all this does is build excitement for the next few games. Again, even though the game wasn't close by scoreline in the end, the game was close and physical enough to show. And you could see the meaning. Again, I wasn't expecting to come on here and hear you praising Mr. Pollock after some of his actions. Again, especially stirring up the Force and Australian players. Like, as someone said, I read a comment somewhere, he's going to be one of the greatest villains ever of, like, England going to win a World Cup, and he's like captain of that squad or something, because you can just tell he gets rugby. Like, if you know what I mean, like, that's rugby where he'll be niggly, the dark arts side of things, but off the field you can tell he doesn't take anything too seriously to the point there. So, like, it's a perfect representation to me of rugby, but it is that storyline, and if he continues to grow and keep playing well, that could be really interesting going into the Wallaby series, and just how that kind of works out. Look, the Reds are up next. We've seen a handful of players released there, but a big name not released. Tom Liner has not been released, which will be interesting to see. There's a couple others, but another big name recently been released for your Waratahs, Taniela Tupou, being released to play for the Waratahs, which may be a big statement.
You're the only Waratahs player to be released. I guess, that sort of makes sense given they are the closest, them and the Brumbies are the closest to the actual first test match. It's a week before, right? So, and I feel like the Lions can't really complain about that, a week before, that you're not releasing all your test players there. It's like, because we're playing another game in a week, like, you guys have got your tour squad. You can select from lots of different nations. We're one country, so get over it. Look, Taniela Tupou, I did say I didn't think he would be in my starting 23, and it seems that Joe Schmidt is thinking along the same lines. Yeah, potentially a very big inclusion for the Waratahs, not big inclusion for the Wallabies. Perhaps this is a chance this is Schmidt saying to him, hey, go out and prove me wrong. Go out and earn your way into the team. And I think a lot of the fringe players, that's what he's going to be challenging them to do. Dylan Peach certainly was playing with a chip on his shoulder, like he had something to prove. Tom Robertson looked like he had something to prove. So hopefully it is the fire that Tupou needs, because as we said, he's had a down season.
Yeah. I think I'd take that as well from it, is that there's obviously enough props putting up their hands to outplay Tupou throughout Super Rugby, and that this is an opportunity for him to have one last grasp at it. Because again, if it doesn't motivate you to want to play against the British and Irish Lions and have a good game and get into that squad, there's nothing that will. As I think Tom Robinson said as well, that it'd give his left testicle to have another go at that. So again, but that is what this aura, this once in a 12-year opportunity, there's just no other sporting opportunity like it Lions to it. 12 years that this happens, even think about the Olympics, that's 4 years, this is a once in 12-year opportunity. You just think about sports in general, those don't come about, every other sport, big event has 4 years between it. A 12-year opportunity and wait, it's just something special. Going into the Reds game, I actually think you see that Reds squad that was named, that's going to give them one hell of a challenge. If you didn't see Aidan Ross, who just recently, 11 days ago, wrapped up his career with the Chiefs, has signed to the Reds, former All Black, missed out on winning a Super Rugby Cup final, and then has gone across to the Reds. So a very high quality Reds team named, which will, I think, be another step for the British and Irish Lions, who have named another good team as well going into that game. So it'll be interesting. I think we'll start to see more and more take shape of who's actually going to be playing. Again, as we said, the Waratahs ones the week before going on. So when do you guys play the Fiji? Have I missed this? Does this come in this weekend?
I was looking this up as well. This Sunday, 6th of July.
Sunday. Yeah, so this weekend you've got them, we've got the French. So I'm just going to jump over to the All Black side of the ship, where our squad's been named again, and the French squad's been named, and just again discuss all of those points. That the French have named a very youthful, inexperienced squad. Players from Bordeaux and Toulouse weren't selected or weren't involved. I'm hoping we do that, but the fear that comes from me is that French rugby is at an all-time high with club rugby. Again, their World Cup, you could argue they beat us in the pool stage, that if South Africa hadn't knocked them out in the quarters, they could have gone all the way in 2003. So they're 2023. So they're not a bad team, and even this youthful team coming over here will still put up a good fight. That being said, we have selected a very strong team again. Very good numbers. There's no real shocks. The biggest shock is the fact that we've included players that are informed in Super Rugby, and those are not informed in Super Rugby and back to experience. We only selected 2 out-and-out wingers in the squad. Caleb Clark, who didn't score a try in the whole Super Rugby season, but as Razor said, he's banking on the All Blacks being able to get the best out of him, and then Sever Rees, who had a fantastic Super Rugby season as well. So there's like little things like that. Tupusi Karifi, deservedly named, a few other players getting debuts, Fabian Holland in the mix. But as expected, there has been some injuries. So Luke Jacobson's been included in the squad, but he's probably going to be out injured. Tamatai Williams just recently replaced by George Bell for injury. Wallace Atiti out injured. Christian Leo Willie coming in. So it'll be an interesting makeup of Razor's squad. And again, we're going into year 2 of Razor. So I'm excited to see what this starts to bring. But again, I'm not putting all my hopes in a basket, because again, it's an inexperienced French squad who we should put away. So I'm more interested in the process. As we now know, we're in the second year of a 4-year cycle into a Rugby World Cup, which is the most important thing in rugby at the moment. Saying that, you have the Lions, we've got the French coming. South Africa kicked off their international season with a bang, hosting the Barbarians and putting them in the dirt in a very impressive display. The forward pack, the front row, was incredible with Oxenenche, and I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm not going to say it, but the new front rower as well they've got there, and they just went to work on the Barbarians, which again was a very good side named.
Yes, I'm going to attempt to say the name here because I'm always willing to take these on. Asanathi Nitlabakanye. Nitlabakanye. I don't know, it sounds very Eastern European when I say it like that.
It does.
Nitlabakanye.
He is another big black man, and was very strong in the scrum, and they were just dominant. And again, it's scary. It is scary. It is a scary time in our careers. You got Razzie Erasmus coaching a very good South African side. As we go into the Rugby Championship, that team is good. Like Cheslin Kobe's an unreal player. I just was like, again, the Barbarians, we all know they're an exhibition game team, and like how much you can actually take away from this game. South Africa still did a job. Like I sat there and I was like watching the game back, and I was like, it's scary. There's enough scary pieces in and around South Africa, and a heavy Japanese lead contingent with Jesse Krill captain in the side as well. So yeah, look, I mean, all of the Rugby Championship sides going into some big series.
Yeah. Like you're looking at the back five of the Barbarians. Like that's a good back five as well. Like Lester Fainga'anuku in there, Mark Talea, like those, they're not bad players that are in this team. Sam Kane's up there, Shannon Frizzell as well. There's more, but those are the names that are jumping right out at me. So yeah, Hoskins Tutu on the bench there, I can see as well. Yeah, it's it is a scary time.
Ominous signs it is for those South Africans. Look, there's a big announcement that's kind of fallen to the graveside just purely because of the Lions tour that's happening. But Super Rugby AU fully announced to run it back. I believe it starts in August, September.
I think September. Yeah. It's a new only Australian competition, third tier competition. Both seniors and under 19s as well. So it's got the 4 Super Rugby teams, obviously. They do like a round robin over 3 rounds, and the top 2 teams play in the grand final. So yeah, it'll be a good chance for the fringe players, I guess, to get some more experience. To the non-Wallabies players to get some more experience, get a chance for players like Teddy Wilson for the Waratahs to make an impact. Yeah, very exciting. It's good. The more rugby, the better. There's this break in here for those non-Wallabies players that we need something to fill that time. Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
I think it's a massive step forward for Australian rugby. I think it's a great idea. I think it'll grow from this 4-round thing. Like I could see, like why not? I know maybe not the Melbourne Rebels as a whole, but why not a Melbourne-based team? Why not add in other teams as you kind of flow through that are willing to step up to those things? Again, why can't a Shoot Shield XV get put into there, or and you just put together a team from that competition that can compete with the likes
Shoot
of
Shield XV, Curry Cup XV, because I think Curry Cup's the Queensland one, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm not sure it's called the Queensland Premier Rugby grade. Yeah.
No, so Curry Cup is the South African one. What's the Queensland rugby comp? What's it called? Just Queensland Premier Rugby. There you go. QPR 15 and Shoot Shield 15.
Yeah, totally. And again, getting the best of the best, getting those players opportunities to put their names up into the light, to sign those Super Rugby contracts that come up. I think there's opportunities there growing that competition. So I think it's a great start. I'll be interested to see, how the fans react to it. I think Australians definitely react to success, and you can have these competitions and still be successful. We saw how good Super Rugby AU was over the period of COVID and going forward like that. So it's an exciting time, I think, for Australian rugby to kind of take a step and see what this looks like. Again, we always talk about it, the NRL, has 16 teams in Australia, and how do you compete to that with 4? Well, is this an opportunity to build out something there for a professional market, for more teams, for more being able to have full-time contracts and dedicate themselves to rugby, more opportunities for those players to get game time, so on and so forth, and for rugby to keep some of those talents. I can only see it as a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just looked it up. It does kick off in September this year.
Nice. So we'll keep you looped in that. It's very similar to the NPC in New Zealand kicking off at around about the same time, which is, again, more teams and more opportunities for those young guns coming through. Under-20s World Cup, mate, you guys got spanked. That was one of the surprises I woke up to. Was a 73? Was it 17 in the end?
Yeah, 73-17. After the under-20s rugby championship, where we only tied with you guys, but we beat South Africa, beat Argentina. Yeah, did not see that coming. Hey, look, it's again, it's scary. South Africa are good, and they've also got this great under-20s team now.
It is it's a hard way. So under-20s, I love under-20s the World Cup purely because of the do or die nature of it. So like, if there's 3 pools of 4 teams, top 3 go through from each pool, and then the next best loser. Unfortunately for you guys, that's pretty much put you in a really, really tough position to make it out into the top 4, especially with England under-20 being considered widely the best under-20s team at the competition this year in your pool as well as Scotland.
That's a crazy pool. If you look at our pool, it's South Africa, England, Scotland, and Australia.
That's
crazy.
Compare it to our pool, which is Ireland, New Zealand, Georgia, and Italy.
Yeah,
we can count ourselves lucky because we only just beat Italy 14-5.
Even Pool B, France, Argentina. Okay, yeah, 2 good teams there, but then Wales and Spain.
Yeah,
what the hell?
I think it's based off position from last year's.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a calculus to it, but at the same time, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, a tough done by, hard done by. But again, it's a big result for a South African under-20s side. That, again, a scary moment when you've got Razzie licking his lips saying there. And he's already mentioned how they're looking to get 50-plus players of rotation through this series that they've got coming up in the mid-year series. So a lot of depth coming in South Africa. Hopefully our 2 teams can show the same. In France as well, we mentioned it just quickly, Bordeaux and Toulouse played out their final, which saw Toulouse come away with the victory in extra time, 2 penalties to Thomas Ramos to steal away the win. But again, another fantastic game in French rugby, just showing the absolute growth that game is having and just where they're at progressively for how far ahead they are in professional rugby compared to everyone else. If you want to watch any highlights of a game and just a crowd, those are the games to go and watch. And I'll certainly be going to see a couple this year, hopefully, or next year, as my time in England comes to an end. So, yeah, exciting times over there and for World Rugby as well. Look, mate, going into Fijian series, the Wallabies. Last time I kind of told you, give us your back line. What's your forward pack looking like heading into this? Now we have a bit more idea with players being released to clubs and so on and so forth.
Give me a second because I should look up. Make sure I get everyone right here. That's in the. It's been announced as part of the squad. Look, for starting it off, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised that Angus Bell is going to be one of my starters. Right? I don't think that's any surprise. Where's the squad here? Then
Festley got released to play for the Reds, so don't know if that changes anything. My assumption is he's not going to make any Red backup from a Wednesday to Saturday game.
Yeah, so I feel like it's going to be Pollard then. Then it is going to be, where's the squad? Probably 5As, Alan Alatoa. Then I would say Nick Frost and Will Skelton. And then I reckon you got to give the Tizzano, McWright, Valentini back row a crack. And this is a game to do it. Just at least like a game that doesn't mean anything. Give it a shot. Just see what it looks like. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that towards the back end of the game, and maybe we saw a McWright, Valentini, Harry Wilson starting the game. Wilson goes off because he's no longer captain. Jake Gordon's captain, and then you bring Tizzano on into that 6th position. Valentini ships back to 8.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I think I would be surprised if they go for the starting lineup like that, but I think they could definitely go. You
just tell Harry Wilson to go out there, say, give me 50 minutes of absolute run it straight, hammer them rugby. Give it your all for those 50 minutes, and then we'll pull you off after 50 minutes and bring Tizzano in some energy in those last 30.
Yeah, I can see that happening. And what would you consider success looking like in this Fijian game? Because again, as we've mentioned, we saw Argentina beat the Lions, and now the Lions have come over here, done what they need to do in Perth. And I don't know if that was just the wake up call that they needed. Are you hoping for like a contested game, or is it more like success is going to look like what you see on the paddock rather than the scoreline?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I want to look a win. First of all, you have to, winning breeds winning, right? So you need to go out there and get a win. So any which way they get a win is a good start. Then yeah, I want to see the product on the field, clean rugby. I don't want lots of drop balls, lots of silly penalties and mistakes and things like that. Like that's what I'll be looking for, more so than like a big score line. Because you can play really messy rugby and run up a score line against someone, but when it comes time to play an opponent like the British and Irish Lions, that's not going to help you, because they can match you in those skill wise. And that's not saying that Fiji is not skilled. They're one of the most arguably skilled rugby teams out there, but that's probably more individual skill than like team skill, I would say. Where Fiji really excel is physicality as well. I want to see a physical game there as well, like good contact and clean contact as well. So yeah, very much looking for what the product on the field is like, and then whoever's playing fly half and inside center, like what their connections like, what moves they can pull out, how they develop this attack as well, I think is going to be really key.
And yeah, I've seen Hunter Pasami got released to play for the Reds. My assumption then is we're seeing the Ikitau Suoliti partnership in the centres, which again, I'm not angry at, as you, I think you've alluded to. The only time you're going to be angry at seeing Suoliti in a green and gold jersey if they've wasted him on the wing and he's not in either a 13 or 15 position. Again, positive signs. That's where Smith sees his ability and his best attributes.
Yeah. And I'm starting to think as well that we're going to see either an Andrew Kellaway Harry Potter or a Max Jorgensen Harry Potter wing pairing.
I definitely think Harry Potter's got a spot down. And again, what Dalgunu didn't get released, I don't believe, to the Reds.
Yeah, no, he didn't. Not that I saw. It's just it was Paisami and Fessler. Sorry, I was blanking there for a second.
No,
I'll double check that here quickly.
I don't
just Fessler and Paisami. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So again, those tars, those 4 tars, those 2 tars, I should say, and those outside backs are obviously 4 spots competing for 2. So it'll be interesting to see how they all get used. And again, it sounds like Tom Wright is going to be used as the fullback for the Wallabies. Okay, predictions. We've got to get through 5 of them. So we've got the Reds versus British and Irish Lions, New Zealand versus France, Waratahs versus British and Irish Lions, and then Australia versus Fiji, 4 of them. What are your predictions?
Right. All Blacks to beat France, British and Irish Lions to win their 2 games. I don't think that's controversial. And then the Wallabies to beat Fiji. I mean, I don't think any of that is particularly controversial.
No, but any score lines you want to chuck out that might be closer than you expect?
I just hope that the British and Irish Lions games aren't both 54s to 7s again. I hope that maybe the Reds and the Tars can be a little bit more competitive. The Tars, the Reds I'm a lot more confident in than the Tars, honestly, because the Tars are missing a lot more players and a lot more of their quality players. But you look at like what a fantastic opportunity for some of these players though. Like Teddy Wilson, like what an opportunity for him. The Reds team as well. Like it's some good experience for those players. Like got to be thrilled for those guys going on there. But yeah, the Waratahs, and look at like they're missing their halfback, the 2 wingers, and their fullback, right? So it's going to be a very tough ask for them. So yeah, I feel like that game could get messy. And honestly, like the Force came out with more fight than I've seen the Waratahs play with all year, except for the Chiefs game, I think. So I'm very scared about the Waratahs game. The Reds game, I think, will be a bit better. So yeah, just hoping they're not as bad as the Force game, but we'll see. And then the Wallabies Fiji game. Yeah, I think it'll be close. I think Fiji not to be underestimated these days. Yeah, I reckon maximum scoreline difference will be 10 points.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think the Reds keep it a lot closer than the British Irish Lions. I'm not brave enough to pick a victory, but I think it's within 14 points within 2 to 3 tries type thing. I think we wiped the floor in the first game against the French. I just think experience. I think we're going to come out firing, and we're going to absolutely wipe the floor. I think, I would agree with you. The Tars, I'm worried that could get messy. The thing that's on your side is obviously it's a week out. You don't think you're going to probably get the best British and Irish Lions team. You're probably going to get some more fringe players we're going to expect to see. We don't know. Farrell may go all in again and select his best ultimate team to give them all a shot of cohesion and so on and so forth with a week beforehand. But I think he'll rest a couple of star players, so it might make it easier. But I do think that one blows out. And then your Wallabies versus Fiji. Look, to me, I think I agree with you. I think it's going to be a bit more than 10. I think it's going to be about 2-3 tries again. But I'm not nervous for your Wallabies. I'm more excited. I think this is such a big moment of a team coming together. You have a great opportunity to set the standards, as you said. You've just got to find a way to win. And if you're doing things right, even if it's a close game, but you're doing things right, and Fiji are pulling out some miracle plays as they do, you can take that. And so I think, I think the hope is that you have a close game, but there are more positives that come out of it than negatives.
Exactly. It's more what happens than the scoreline. You know what I mean?
Yep. Honestly, that's only starting to break down some of the rugby. You've also got the Maldives taking on Scotland, Japan, Wales, South Africa, Italy, Georgia, Ireland, Argentina, England, a whole bunch of second-tier nations going at it, the Under-20 World Cup happening. So a lot of rugby to keep you up to date with as we go through this week. But we're getting ever closer to that first test, which is, I think, the eye of the rugby world at the moment is anticipation of that. So please stay tuned with us as we bring you all the news and updates on that. For now, I've been Luke. That's been Husey. Thank you for joining that Rugby Podcast. We will see you later. Goodbye.
Peace.